They showed me photos of a life they swore was mine. Then you walked in holding lilies with a worried tender grace. But I stared hard at the tenderness stamped onto your face. You reached for my hand, the gold band felt cold and unfamiliar now. A promise I never made, and I don't remember how to fill the quiet space between us with the warmth they say was there. You are a stranger in my ring, a kind, persistent ghost, fighting for a history that my own mind has lost. And I can see the fragments of the man I used to trust, but the map is faded, written down in ash and frozen dust. How do I fall back in love with someone who just puts my memory to sleep? You talk about our wedding, a cabin by the sea. You look at me like finding you was the best part of me. I nod and try to conjure up the feeling in your hopeful eyes, but all I hear is silence underneath the gentle, painful lies. But yesterday you left, chasing sunlight through the kitchen door, and for one blinding second I knew that sound before. It wasn't memory, just a flicker of a feeling deep and new. Maybe I don't need the past to find my way back to loving you. You are a stranger in my ring, but maybe that's okay. We can build a quiet new history, starting from today. And I will hold this promise, though my mind still can't recall the life we had before we crashed, before we lost it all. Let's find the second chapter, leaving the first one far behind. I sit beside the bedside, tracing lines on your familiar arm. But the map is wrong, the compass broken, protecting you from harm. The light of who I was to you is dimmed behind a wall of glass. I am the history you lost, the ghost you cannot find. This cold, vast sea of silence threatens to pull me underneath, but I hold fast to the words whispered beneath the wedding wreath. polite and gently kind. You are new and beautiful and devastatingly unseen. I try to give you back the fragments, but they never sound quite true. I watch you learning all the simple things we used to do. They tell me I can walk away, that no one would ever blame, but the sun still rises on the heart that whispers your true name. I built my world around the faith that nothing could break the chain. My love is the anchor of a promise forged in fire and faith. I swore an oath to you that day, and that commitment holds its weight. The feeling might be sleeping, but the truth remains awake. I'll be the steady ship that never leaves, for your own precious sake. I already fell in love with you once, and I'll remember how. The pages of our old book were ripped out by a sudden storm, leaving only the binding cold and strangely uniform. They say we had a decade of sun and sweet familiar things, but my mind can only focus on the absence that the quiet brings. I look at the space between us, feeling the distance grow. This is where the story stops and where the new one has to go. We stand at the edge of the known world, where the memory gives way, and the only thing to hold on to is the rising of today. We are starting on chapter 0, a blank page in the rain, writing love in unfamiliar script to wash away the pain. It's terrifying and beautiful to have nothing to compare, but the emptiness gives space for a new kind of love to share, letting the silence speak and trusting the sound that comes after. You talk about the things you like, the person you are now, a stranger that I recognize beneath the hopeful brow. I watch you choose a coffee cup and the wonder takes my breath. You're showing me who you are, defying the threat of death. You didn't need the history to prove that you are true. There is freedom in this losing, a chance to build without the ghosts. Let's make this new beginning the love that matters the most. We are starting on chapter 0, a blank page in the rain, writing love in unfamiliar script to wash away the pain. It's terrifying and beautiful to have nothing to compare, but the empty write this story slowly, making every word ring true. I trace the dust motes dancing in the slanted afternoon light. They used to catch the silver from the cufflinks you wore that night. The air is still cold where your coffee mug used to rest, trying to catch a whisper of the life that vanished overnight. The hollow space where your laughter used to bloom, and try to feel the warmth escape the cold, lonely room. They are just echoes of yesterday, whispers on the glass, quiet shadows of the past that move and gently pass. A ghostly memory of a love that my heart knows is dead. They linger in the corners, a fragrance of familiar thread. You leave the keys beside the bowl just like you always did. A muscle memory that your conscious mind has always hid. You reach for my hand while we're walking, then pull back in confusion, and I pretend I didn't notice the depth of that cruel illusion. Is it cruelty or kindness to hold on to every single sign? I hold the truth for both of us, waiting for a new love to be kind. They are just echoes of yesterday, whispers on the glass, quiet shadows of the past that move and gently pass. A hopeful, fragile memory of the love that we thought was dead. And sometimes in the silence, a new soft song starts to play, and those echoes of yesterday still light the path for a new way. We were walking on the sidewalk, talking about the weather, the most neutral subject we could find to keep us together. Then your fingers brushed my wrist, purely by accident, and the static shock felt like a memory I hadn't lent. A current flowed quick and sudden through the hollow of my chest, a sweet familiar pressure instantly possessed. I pulled mine back too quickly, a sudden nervous flight. But for one blinding moment, the past felt almost right. It's a familiar foreign hand reaching out in the dark, leaving a strange and hopeful quiet electric mark. I know the weight and curve of it, a knowledge without name. It whispers of a life I loved, a forgotten tender flame. You are touching me like history, but meeting me as new. I look at the lines in your palm, charting rivers I've sailed before, but I can't name the ports or the destination we sailed for. You hold the car door open, a kindness you consciously impart. It's the gesture of a gentleman, not the instinct of my heart. And yet that accidental brush, that brief sweet sensation, carries more truth than all our careful conversation. Maybe the mind can forget the words and dates of all our years, but the body holds the wisdom beyond the doubts and fears. It's a familiar foreign hand reaching out in the dark, leaving a strange and hopeful quiet electric mark. I know the weight and curve of it, a knowledge without name. It whispers of a life I loved, a forgotten tender flame. You are touching me like history, and now I'm reaching back to you. Sit across the dinner table like it's our very first date, searching for small talk, smiling, sealing our terrible fate. I try to remember how you laughed, but the sound feels borrowed and new. You're asking me simple questions, trying to find your way back through. The distance feels like miles now, though we're breathing the same air. But every painful silence whispers that the old road isn't there. We are standing on a redrawn map, tracing lines we don't recall, trying to find the secret path before we completely fall. Fragile ground, hoping the love we lost is a treasure that can still be found. Starting from zero, holding on to the promise of your name. You held the door for me today, a simple conscious courtesy, but it lacks the easy grace of muscle memory. We visit all the places where our greatest memories reside, but they feel like historical markers nowhere left is a brand new quiet story than trying to force a shadow into all its former glory. We are standing on a redrawn map, tracing lines we don't recall, trying to find the secret path before we completely fall. Building a house with unfamiliar hands upon a fragile ground, hoping the love we lost is a treasure that can still be found. Starting from zero, holding on to the promise of your name. And maybe this new love will burn brighter than the first flame. We were sitting in a quiet park beneath a tired oak tree, talking about anything, avoiding what we used to be. You reached across the space between us, not as a husband's right, but as a hopeful stranger stepping into the pale afternoon light. You spoke about a future tentative and gently planned. I didn't try to look for traces of the old love in your face, but I felt a new feeling slowly settle into place. It wasn't memory calling, it was a sudden clear design. The day we met again, this new story felt like mine. The distance finally melted, the confusion slipped away, and I chose to give my whole heart to you on this brand new day. It's a love built on the rubble, and it stands up tall and strong. You smiled at a sudden thought, and the sound was completely new, but it rang so true inside me, something I desperately knew. I realized all the patience, the small notes, the care you showed were not just obligations, but a deep, unselfish road. You didn't need the past to make this fragile feeling start. The vow was your anchor then, but now my heart is freely yours. I've chosen the path behind that open, welcoming door. It wasn't memory calling, it was a sudden clear design. the air is lighter somehow, the tension softened by the wind. You're holding me with confidence now, no hesitation in your hand. We stand on hallowed ground that only we can understand. I'm wearing white again, but this time the memories are mine. The weight of the past has lifted, the future feels so clear. There are no ghosts in this room, only the love we rebuilt here. This is the second first dance, a quiet, perfect, brand new start. Every slow step written by two trusting, hopeful hearts. We didn't need the old song to remember how to sway. We found a better melody on this triumphant day. Falling in love again, prove that I forever wasn't blind. You whisper something funny, and the sound is beautifully real. The easy joy of knowing exactly how I feel. No longer searching for the fragments of a truth that slipped away. We built a newer, stronger, more resilient yesterday. The gold band on my finger shines, a symbol of the fight. The scars that mark the journey are the map that led us home to the beautiful realization that we'll never walk alone. This is the second first dance, a quiet, perfect, brand new start. Every slow step written by two trusting, hopeful hearts. We didn't need the old song to remember how to sway. We found a better melody on this triumphant day. Falling in love again, prove that I forever wasn't blind. This is the grace of a second chance, the very best kind. I trace the dust motes dancing in the slanted afternoon light. They used to catch the silver from the cufflinks you wore that night. The air is still a little cold where your coffee mug used to rest. And I keep smoothing down the dent you left upon the pillow's crest. It's been so long since I walked through a door that swung shut behind you, but every shadow here still knows the geometry of how you move. The house holds its breath and waits for a sound that will not arrive, like a faded photograph refusing to let the colors die. I live within the radius of your absence now, a silent orbit where the daylight doesn't know how to break the spell of loneliness that you didn't choose to cast. I'm anchored to the moment where the future blurred into the past. And I remember the way your hand found the small of my back, following the unspoken curve of where I was always meant to be. There's a vintage record skipping softly on the mahogany floor. It's the one we never finished dancing to, right here by the door. I see your jacket hanging folded neatly over the wooden chair, and I know the scent of rain and cedar wood is no longer there. I keep the enough for a tired, gentle breeze, hoping it might carry back a memory through the whispering trees. The clock on the mantle whispers time slow, unbearable retreat, a hopeful, foolish rhythm that my own cold heart still tries to beat. I live within the of your absence now, a silent orbit where the daylight doesn't know how to break the spell of loneliness that you didn't choose to cast. I'm anchored to the moment where the future blurred into the past, and I remember the way your hand found the small of my back, following the unspoken curve of where I was always meant to be. Chapel out of all the things you left that day. And one day when the sorrow fades, I hope to find your shape again, not in the tear-stained moments, but somewhere beyond the pain. I'll step outside the radius of your absence soon, and find a new light underneath this pale, remembered moon. I'll honor all the moments that you didn't choose to let go of, and carry the geometry of our perfect broken love, because I remember the way your hand found the small of my back. And that unspoken curve is still the only road I'll travel back. They say that memory is the glue that holds a marriage fast, and when the core crumbled, they assume nothing could ever last. But look at how the walls still stand, though the windows shattered wide. The frame remained built on a love that had nowhere left to hide. It turns out the deepest bond wasn't written in a story, but forged into the simple act of facing down the stormy. The sorrow was a shovel that dug deep into the stone, to find the solid groundwork where the true love had been sown. We stand upon an unbreakable foundation, built of the crash, and now we start to bloom. We dated through the fear, tracing the edges of our pain, learning how to speak your name, and letting go of the old rain. I watch you learn my habits, the ones that your mind didn't save, and I cherish the fresh wonder of the knowledge that you bravely gave. You chose me without history, based only on the truth of who I am. The love we have now isn't fragile, it has been tested by the fire. It proved that commitment is deeper than desire. We stand upon an unbreakable foundation, built of choice and time, a quiet, stubborn, holy architecture that is purely mine. The feeling was lost, but the commitment refused to bend or sway. I saw the essence of your character, and that's what made me stay. The core of us survived the crash, and now we start to bloom. And this foundation will outlast the limits of any